Welcome into the Sports Objective Podcast, election night special. The good news is you don't have to worry about, we're not going to tell you who won. Actually, I did hear, guys, that Petey the Pirate won Pirate Nation president again. So congratulations to Petey the Pirate. And other than that, you won't hear anything about the election night special on. We don't care about that right now. We care about sports. And Bubba, we've got a good guy up here. I'm really excited to have him. Of course, he's a great guy because he's an ECU guy. And he coaches my alma mater too, so in basketball.
Absolutely. 1997 alum of East Carolina and longtime high school coach there in Williamston, area that you're very familiar with, Dave, Riverside High School. Welcome into the show, Bobby Williams.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Look forward to it. Share a little bit about our program and high school sports and all this craziness going on right now, I guess.
No doubt about it. In fact, I live 1
Bobby,
mile.
First, before we get into basketball, Dave, Bobby, let me get your political views for everyone right here real fast before we start talking about basketball. Who did you vote for?
I'm not. I didn't, I'll be completely honest. I didn't make it to the polls. I completely stayed. When I hear the political stuff, I turn the channel. How about that?
Yeah, we
I was just messing with you.
That's all right.
The quickest guest exit on the history of the sports.
That's all right.
He's like, bye-bye, see you later. Oh man, this Zoom thing is out of here. Not working. No, Bobby, wanted to have you on tonight. Thank you so much. I met Bobby about 20 years ago, almost, and you were at the middle school at the time, and I was substitute teaching then, and right before I started teaching. And I actually did that. I wanted to see whether or not I would like teaching, and I really did. And you guys were always very good to me for at least a solid year. They like every day they were calling me, "Will you come over, please? This teacher's out. This teacher's out," and they always looked out for me. So I appreciate you doing that for that solid year and a half, or whatever it was. But very excited to have you on. Obviously, you've done a fantastic job. We'll talk about that in my alma mater. You know, we're very proud. If people don't know about Williamston, I know Bubba. Kyle does, because Kyle's originally from here. Even though he has Kyle from LaGrange, he should say Kyle from Williamston, Kyle from Janesville.
Kyle from Highway 64 in between Williamston and Janesville. But look,
Yeah,
man, I've been in this area, the LaGrange, Kinston area for so long that it's home. So
all right. Well, we still love you. We still claim you anyway. A native of Highway 64 near Williamston. How about that? Bobby, I know that you've been working really hard, and with being in a basketball state, one question that comes to mind, being alum, how many guys do you have potentially that could make it on Joe Dooley's staff? Do you have anybody? Can we set up a pipeline? I mean, you're a huge Pirate. I've known that about you for a long time. Is that something that you could, like, from Williamston to Greenville's about 26 miles? Could you set that pipeline to Greenville?
We've got a couple of young men. There's a possibility.
Okay.
They have offered one of our juniors, class of 2022, 6'7" kid, Avion Penner. Most of the recruiting services in junior in the state of North Carolina. ECU was his first offer. They offered him the first day they were able to contact juniors this summer. He has an opportunity to be a special player. Right now, East Carolina and Florida International have offered. There's just 2 offers so far, but we're hearing from a lot of folks. I mean, last couple of days, I've talked to Oklahoma State, talked to Auburn. We Zoomed with Wake Forest last week. So, but he likes the area. He's a hometown guy. He's gone to Greenville all his life, so it's wide open.
And this is something special.
I was going to ask Bob, is that kind of a plus or a minus in general? Have you noticed from most kids, or is it just kid by kid? When East Carolina's recruiting them, like you said, you grow up in Williamston, you go to Greenville. You need a new pair of shoes, you go to Greenville. You want to go to the movies, you go to Greenville. Do kids look at that like, all right, I get to stay home, get to be around my buddies, get to go to school with people I know, or do you find most kids are like, hey, look, Wake Forest, sexy, ACC, let's get away from home?
As long as I've been following the ECU basketball program, unfortunately, at times, I don't know necessarily, he's the first local guy that, I've known personally, but I mean, you hear stories from back with Coach Steele and those things, recruiting guys and being their first offers and, following them for 2 or 3 years and doing all your work. And then one of these ACC schools doesn't get somebody. That's just, hopefully Coach Dooley's going to be able to change that where it's a destination. I mean, I love Coach Dooley to death and lucky to get to go by practices, every once in a while. And unfortunately right now with all this COVID going on, I haven't been able to get over there this fall, but, hopefully he's going to be able to change that and turn it around.
Well, I mean, and plus, I mean, just remind the young man, has he seen the girls at East Carolina versus the girls at Wake Forest? I mean, goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, right now things are wide open. We've heard from Wake, we've heard from Virginia Tech and the ACC as well. It's just missing summer, a lot of summer basketball this summer and events being shut down. And I mean, 2 weekends ago, we were in Rock Hill for a big, basically the top 80 players in North Carolina versus the top 80 players in South Carolina. We're 2 miles away from Winthrop, and they're talking to them occasionally as well. And we can't even go over to go in the gym at Winthrop because everything's shut down right now, So with this stuff right now, the recruiting world's upside down.
That was a nice segue for me for recruiting. How difficult, what's the differences that the obvious ones, obviously, when you're using Zoom instead of a lot of that physical contact, but what other things, maybe rules that we're missing out on as fans and maybe following the program, East Carolina, what are things they can and cannot do from your perspective as a high school coach, maybe that normally we wouldn't even have to worry about?
Well, basically right now, they're not allowed to have unofficial visits. Like I said, that would have been, again, back to kind of 2 weeks ago, we were in Rock Hill. That would have been an unofficial visit just to go over and watch them work out and things like that, and they're like, we can't do that. We can't have anybody over, even some of the D2s and things like that, their university has stricter rules. Now, the D2s and the D3s right now, they're a little bit more open. They can contact and they can come to these special events and things like that. But I think right now they've said that the D1s are pretty much shut down until at least after the possible Final Four. So they're a lot of live stream. All these events are live streaming, and their coaches are watching the live streams. I spent the whole entire summer at every event that Avion and even a couple of other of our kids, I'm sending the live stream links out every Friday and Saturday morning. They can tune in and watch there, but everybody right now is just kind of wait and see and want to see the kids in person. We're videoing workouts. We're videoing AAU games. A lot of my guys, basically my team, went this past weekend to Virginia Beach and played with some dads as a AAU team. Well, I filmed all the games and have those available to send out. So,
how much does that hurt there?
Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to ask another question. How much does it hurt the AAU circuit? That was another thing I thought about from your perspective.
The COVID and all the situation going on. Well, in North Carolina, basically these events aren't allowed to happen. South Carolina, all these events that my guys are going to are in South Carolina, or they're in Virginia, they're in Rock Hill, or they're in Myrtle Beach. We're here in North Carolina. We got to travel a little bit to be able to do those things. I think Bubba froze on us up there.
Yeah, he's in mid thought. What? Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, well, my question was kind of, and I realized while I was asking it that that's not the case for basketball, but I'll ask it in a roundabout way anyway. In football, they're giving everybody another year of eligibility at the FBS Division I level. So you got all your seniors, can come back next year. I don't know if they're going to end up doing that for basketball too, but how does that? Have you talked to any? Like I said, the rule hasn't been passed for basketball yet, but I'm just wondering how coaches are going to approach that. In football, and then if they pass the rule in basketball, you're recruiting kids typically based on what you're graduating. And now, if they do the same thing in basketball they did in football with COVID and allow the kids to have another year of eligibility because of whether they opt out or not, I wonder how that's going to affect with recruiting kids and signing kids and the incoming class next year. Have you talked to any college coaches about that, or are they expecting that to be the case for basketball like it is for football?
That's the thoughts right now, and I mean, about the only way you can explain that is just it's going to be one big mess. I mean, you don't know which are going to say they're going to come back. They want to come back, and it's kind of a big thing right now, kind of in the recruiting world. Luckily, my guy is just a junior, but I mean, if you're a 2021, if you're a senior and you've got a school that's offered you that you have some interest in and wouldn't mind going there, it's almost to the point you better go ahead and take that thing. You better not wait around too long because it might be gone. So for the 2021s especially, you better take it and make a decision.
Are there some one question I had for you is you hear about football, but are there any guys that have told you they're going to opt out this coming year to focus just on their any seniors that are going to just focus on college? Or I mean, that's a kind of a tricky thing because you need to get that playing time. I would think you've got a great coach like yourself who's going to a whole bunch of Final Fours in the Division 1A, and you need that experience, especially if folks can see you play for a state championship. I would think that would be better than some of the kids I'm hearing. I think it's primarily football. I don't know about basketball. That's why I'm asking you. They're opting out. It's not many, but there's still some of the really big names that are coming out for this coming class.
Yeah, that's a little more on the football side right now because they'll be the last sport to play. We have a 2021 that's a basketball. I'm only probably going to have 2 seniors in my basketball program this year, but one is a 2021, Javon Griffin. He is a football commit to the University of Richmond as a wide receiver. Very good athlete, 3-sport guy, basketball, all-conference guard, track 200 meter, and he was in the top 4 or 5 in the state last year. Well, he's a football commit to Richmond. People were wondering, is he going to graduate early and go on? But the thing about that with these football kids to me is some of these programs are going to be playing football in the fall, especially some of your smaller programs like things like that. So does it do you any good to go ahead and go there? They're going to be in season and things like that. J5, as we call him, he plans to stay here and play basketball with us and play football with Coach McGill and run track for Coach Point. So it haven't seen it in basketball yet.
That's crazy with things going on. The other thing I wanted to ask you, Bobby, being you already have a tough time being in the 1A, having we were talking to you before the show with multiple guys playing. They have to play multiple sports. Going all the way back to when I was at Williamston, I mean, you have guys playing 2, 3, 4 sport. I mean, crazy stuff to be able to field a team. And Williamston takes a lot of pride in having. I mean, if you look at the number of sports that Williamston offers the kids for both the boys and girls, it's amazing considering the size of the school. I'm not just saying that because it's my alma mater, but Williamston is a sports town. Now, when you factor in COVID, you could have guys playing. That's what I was asking you. It seems like you could have basketball, football, baseball. There's a whole bunch of sports. Seems like they're all lumped in at the same time.
Basically, what the state has done is they basically shortened all the seasons. And as you said, there's going to be, for example, tomorrow is the first day that public schools in the state of North Carolina, they'll start sports tomorrow. Volleyball, cross country, and if you have swimming, they will officially start tryouts in their seasons tomorrow. Basketball, we'll start basketball. I think it's the 5th or the 6th of December. So I could possibly have guys that are running cross country. Also, they'll be running cross country and practicing basketball at the same time in the month of December. And as you said, we're a small school. We got a little over 500. I think we're at about 510 students right now. 90%, I would say 90, maybe even 95% of the kids in my basketball program play at least 2 sports, and I would probably 75% of them are 3-sport guys. So one of the concerns that the football coaches have right now, this year, basketball will be in the playoffs when football starts practicing. Well, football guys, they're required so many days of conditioning and all of that type stuff before they can suit up. The 1A teams in the Eastern North Carolina, they may have some issues with the guys being able to get their conditioning in and play in that first week of the regular season. So we're probably going to do some things. They're probably going to practice for me, and they're going to go outside and condition for Coach McGill to get that conditioning in. You know, we have to work together. We do that anyway, but this year even more.
Is it? I mean, that sounds so stupid to me. If you're out there playing basketball and you're running up and down a basketball court, aren't you getting pretty damn good condition? It seems your cardio ought to be pretty good at least.
That's what the football coaches presented, and they keep going back to the sports conditioning part. Trust me, you sound like Coach McGill right now, but I agree with you.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, conditioning is conditioning. You're not going to get in football shape until you get out there and play a game and get hit. But from a physical standpoint, if you're running up and down a basketball court, how much better cardio can you get than that?
I mean, you're looking at an average of anybody knows a basketball game of at least 3 miles on a normal basketball game when you're running up and down the court. So that's just in one game, and not to mention, Bobby, you probably make them run 10 or 12 miles a day. So
we run a lot. The style, the way we try to play, you know. So, and then that's just a football issue. We've got a lot of 1A schools. We, as you know, Dave, we only have one gym here. You know, with the month of December and January, we're going to have volleyball and basketball going on at the same. So here at Riverside, we're going to have 2 volleyball teams and 3 or 4 basketball teams sharing one gym.
Hey, Bobby, you can have midnight basketball. You can have midnight basketball, Bobby.
Somebody's going to have the early morning and somebody's going to have the night.
Well, that's going to be a pain. Hey, I got a good question for you, Bobby. With every time I go to Williamston, like I said, I still got family there. My dad lives there. Obviously, a big part of Williamston and Martin County there is the equestrian program and the Senator Bob Martin Ag Center, and you got the all the horses, and then the community college has the equestrian program. And why don't Williamston High School become the first high school, to my knowledge, in North Carolina to do high school rodeo? There we go. We'll put that out there. What do you think?
That may be something to add. The issue we have right now with this COVID is money. We're just trying to find it. They're saying that we may be limited, obviously, to 25 fans or so in the stands and in the gym, and how we're going to pay for officials and travel, and we're working on the live stream possible issue right now. You know, you only allow 25. Who gets in? Who doesn't get in?
Are you talking about East Carolina or Riverside?
Riverside, the high school. Well, that too.
I know. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Without
Dave will cut a check, Bobby. He'll cut a check for Riverside.
Actually, I always forget the community players that I'm a big part of, and obviously my high school. So come to see me. I will look out for you, Bobby. I promise I will. And Phil, I'll talk to Phil. He's got deep pockets. We'll talk to Phil Woolley too. Coach McGill, all of y'all like put a big pot for sure. It's crazy times. I'm hoping that I tell people all the time, Bobby, I'm worried about. I know Kyle brought it up. He and I are worried about Thanksgiving, Christmas, the holiday parties, New Year's, about people with big gatherings with COVID. We're praying that we can somehow jump over that and be okay in January, because you guys, that very thing of I want this thing over with. I want it over the summertime. It's not going away. And if hopefully people will take it seriously and let's move on. I know that you have with all the virtual mess that you've had to go on, and you were just talking about that with the internet and all the problems we've had, and my kids at elementary level. I mean, it's just been a complete nightmare for everyone.
Without a doubt, our kids, Martin County, we did start face-to-face small groups. I guess this will be the second or the third week. My guys, I've probably got about half of my boys basketball players that are coming 2 days a week. And then I've got some that are not. We kind of looked at it, but high school athletes all over Eastern North Carolina are struggling with this right now, having to get online. And we talked about the internet issues, going out. I mean, here we got Bubba and Kyle going in and out and frozen up there or whatnot. I mean, I'm imagining some of our rural Eastern North Carolina areas and having to do that. I mean, every day I hear, I got knocked off. I was trying to watch my math teacher, and a lot of my guys are like me in the math circuit. We need to be face to face to do some math, not online.
No question, it's crazy. Speaking of crazy, I know that you're a basketball coach, but you love East Carolina big time. We were talking about elections, but Friday night was like a third world country with the Tulsa game.
Wow. It was, I've never seen one like that. Kind of like I joked with you guys. I won't say a whole lot. I don't know who from the state association will watch this, but it was kind of like a road playoff game when you go on the road in the playoffs and you're in somebody else's booking association in the first or second round. You're like, oh no, but that was, as I kind of tweeted earlier today, somebody should lose a job for a lot of that.
Yeah, you get to a point where, incompetence is incompetence, but when it happens 3 times on one drive, that ain't incompetence. If you're that incompetent, you damn sure don't need to be doing that job. But at that point, I don't think it's incompetence. I think it's cheating, and I don't know why they wanted Tulsa to win. I don't know the reason behind it, but somebody on that officiating staff wanted Tulsa to win that football game.
It was really bad.
They might have had several thousand reasons.
When you had the back judge, what was he, like 35, 40 yards away? When he throws that flag, I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, that was one of the
no, yeah, it was terrible. I mean, you flag a play on 4th down, which is a judgment call. You normally never throw that flag on 4th down, and if you're going to throw it, it certainly ain't the back judge 3 seconds after the play's over.
It was late.
The worst one of all was the fumble, because they got the call right on the field, and then they reversed it to the wrong call. And I don't understand how that happens. I don't understand how you reverse the correct call to the wrong call. To me, that's got to be intentional. If you're not sure, what's the rule of review, guys? If you're not sure, you let it stand. Well, not only were they not sure, it was the right call to begin with. They changed the right call to the wrong call.
That was a minute. What was that? Like, literally, it's a minute 50. I think it was a minute 53 on the clock.
Yeah.
And after that play, it was down to like 1:43. I looked at my mom, and my mom had to get up really early in the morning. She had like no sleep to help my dad the next day, but that's a whole nother story. But she was so into the game, and I said, Mom, it's all over. I can't believe we beat Tulsa. And then all of a sudden, I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
And then we stop them again on 4th down, and no, it's a catch. Oh, my God.
Normally I usually takes me an hour or two to get over the, watching the game, and I'll be in bed. It was 5 a.m. before I got to sleep. And then somebody scheduled a preview show of college football, the Inside Slant at 8 o'clock. I don't know what his name is, but I'm just kidding. But and we had by the way, Bobby, we had a comment from one of our viewers, a great East Carolina guy. Bubba and I and Kyle think a lot of him. Johnny Gardner had a comment he wanted to do. He said Worm is going to turn soon. Penner is obviously a priority, being first recruit being offered in the 22 class. This game reminds me of a growing M. Harrell.
Penner has an opportunity. Like I said, if this thing opens up, I would encourage all ECU folks to get over here. Like I said, he is wide open right now. Obviously, that was huge. First, it was like a 12:01 official contact with high school kids. It's like June 15th of their junior year, so it was like 12:01, 12:02 a.m. when ECU did that first night. So that was pretty big.
Yeah. As far all the years you're coaching, what's the biggest kid that you ever had as far as recruiting wise?
Probably we had. I guess we've had one or two. Probably we had a big kid, a 6'8", 6'9" kid, Marcus Freeman, that would have been a 213, 214 grad. Marcus ended up going. He ended up going to Lewisburg for 2 years. Played there when they went to the Final Four, JUCO, both years. And then he ended up at Coastal Carolina for Cliff Ellis. And they won the league and went to the NCAA tournament. 1 year, I think they played Virginia in the first round. The other year, I think they played Wisconsin in the first round. So we've got two. We have two kids at Division II right now. But honestly, Avion probably has a chance to be the best on the basketball side that's come through. We're stressing getting a little bit stronger. He's 6'7", but he's about 185. Got to grow physically. He'll play on the wing. He'll play on the wing on the next level. Good ball handler for his size.
Well, having Joe Dooley back, are you starting to see one of the things I heard, the criticisms of the previous administration before Dooley, was the fact that they were not even recruiting kids, or not really seriously in Pitt County, much less there's a lot of great players in Eastern North Carolina. And my God, if you look at Kinston, North Carolina, I don't have to tell you, Bobby, you're being a basketball guy, about Kinston. I mean, they're nationally known, Kinston, North Carolina. But from a high school vantage point, being a high school basketball coach, do you see that East Carolina coaches are taking North Carolina, specifically Eastern North Carolina kids, right around Greenville seriously now?
I think it is a focus from this staff that maybe was not from previous staffs, things like that. But then we go a little bit about back to what Bubba was speaking of a little bit pre-show a little bit. Is that local kid? Does that local kid want to stay around, or does he want to go away? I mean, you got all those factors, but hopefully Coach Dooley have confidence in him that he's going to get this thing going. It's already going in the right direction. We've got all these guys coming back. The chemistry should be a lot better, and hopefully we'll be able to keep these local kids, and they won't want to go off to sit and watch somewhere else.
I gotta talk to some of my folks in Kinston and see if we can get some of these ACC kids to stay home.
Might take a little while, but on that Kinston team where there's the big kid, where there's Styles going to Carolina, who's the second guy?
Exactly. Well, there was a kid that played at Kinston a few years back. You may remember his name, Bobby, but at least I believe he played for Kinston, who East Carolina didn't recruit, and he ended up being a big star down at Winthrop and played in the NBA some. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, right offhand, gosh knows. I should know those names. But
that's the kind of kid we can't miss on. You know, you can't let that kid go to Winthrop when he's right here in Kinston, and you know, he would have, you know, he would have done huge at East Carolina.
Yeah, there's been several cases of that obviously that your kid's gone off to there, and I mean, JJ Miles, you know.
Oh yeah, Boston College, yeah.
Or well, I say JJ Miles that we did get, you know, was in Northampton in my conference. You know, he was a couple of JUCOs, and then loved JJ to death. A great, super nice kid when we were playing against him. But those same years that JJ was there was a kid over at Rocky Mount Prep, which is in our league as well, and he went off to Rutgers, I think it was, you know, and he was a 6'8", 6'9" kid, you know. Can we keep a kid like that? Can we keep him around?
Yeah, Kyle, you were thinking about Kyle Bowman.
Yeah, Bowman, yeah, that's right.
Havelock kid, I think.
Yeah, Newbern and Havelock, somewhere down that way.
Basically, the story I hear about him is East Carolina wanted him to commit very early, and when he didn't commit early, then they were like started going after other guys because they were worried that is he going to commit to him. And then he was like he wanted to commit to him, and then they were kind of cold to him. I don't know if that's true or not. It was obviously before Dooley, so it doesn't really matter at this point. And he's at Boston College, but I mean he is an ACC baller. You know what I'm saying? Like he would have been tremendous for us. But I think with Dooley, one of the great guys we have on the staff with Rockerfort, my God, the guy knows, like, if there's a guy that's in the classroom at Riverside that's not playing, he probably knows about that kid. He's not playing basketball. He's like, you need to play for Bobby so we can recruit you. You know, I don't know, but they know every single high school.
Yeah, I love the whole staff. I love what Joe's got going on. I mean, obviously, I was coming through school when he was here the first time. And a lot of guys that we've had that I like, but lots of issues, but we're on the right track.
What do you think it's going to take to get to the my goal is for us to be at least right in the next couple of years, middle of the pack. Is that something you think that's reasonable? I mean, I know we were picked which Bubba and I were surprised over Temple, but we're like 9th out of 11th, which I know people go, oh, that's not great. But the fact it's showing we're slowly but surely in the right direction.
And I think this group right now, you know, I think one of the things I've heard Joe say on some talks about chemistry seems a lot better. You know, at least now they know they come to practice and, you know, they know what he's wanting. And I kind of go that with the group I've got here at Riverside this year. Said some of you earlier, I played 6 or 7 sophomores on varsity. Well, now tonight we just got done with workouts, and I call out what drill we're supposed to be doing. Well, they're getting everybody into that. So your chemistry and your time together on the right track.
Yeah,
no doubt. But Bobby, what about when you were talking about streaming earlier? Is that something that we'll be able to watch the games? I know that if we can't be in those of us that have to work odd schedules like mine, that's what hurts me. Is that it hurts a lot of my sporting events, including my local high school. I can't even see a lot of games because I'm working a lot of different shifts. But those of us that maybe we could watch the game or stream the game, is that something you guys will be doing? Or maybe we could actually, can you do a pay-per-view kind of thing where we could actually give some bucks to the program?
Well, that's what obviously there's several different systems out there. There's a network called NFHS Network. They do a lot of high school. They sell you the little pixel-lock camera, and you put that up in your gym and things like that. There's a system called Huddle that breaks films down. You know, so we're in the process of trying to figure out our best bet. You know, and they sell subscriptions. You know, you pay $25 for all the games in the Riverside gym or whatever it may be, you know. And so we're everybody is, every high school in North Carolina is looking into those things and trying to figure those out. You know, this may be a year to go for it, but I told my AD I says, I don't really like that though, because all the schools in my conference, they can buy our $24 package and get all our games. I don't know if I like that. So,
Bobby, would it be a better idea? I don't know if it's possible. Would it be a better idea to do a conference package where that way, you can split the money, you can get more subscribers that way, and you get more bang for your buck, because then you get to see your away games also.
Without a doubt, that could be something that could be worked out, things like that. Because I was speaking with Dave, I think, before you come on, the state's talking about right now only allowing in the indoor sports 25 fans right now. That doesn't count your teams. That doesn't count your coaches or whatnot, or your workers. So, we're already in the process of talking, like say for volleyball starting up here in the next couple of weeks, well, we need 4 workers to call, 1 worker to call each line. We need 1 worker to video, trying to get as many people, especially your parents and things, you're gonna tell a parent, and then you go to your visitors. Sorry, visitors, you don't have any tickets. So
it's gonna be crazy. Well, Bobby, appreciate it's great to see you again, and hopefully one of these days we can come and be in the gym again and be able to see games for sure. For people watching right now, how can they find out more about Williamston? I know there's a website, I believe. Is that right, where they can check out about schedules and stuff?
Has the Facebook page. Our AD, Phil Woolard, posts a lot of things, obviously, on Twitter. RHSAD is his Twitter title. I have a Riverside HSBB basketball-focused Twitter. It is me doing it. You would have the request, but typically you get requests unless you're some charter school coach trying to get my players, and you can't follow me. I'm sorry. That'd be a whole.
I got that. That's a great joke.
We'll get into that, but
yeah.
But it's out there. I encourage anybody when this thing opens up to come over here and see our guys. Obviously, we talked about Avion with the ECU connection there and offer and whatnot. I mean, we've got 2 or 3. I said we have a football commit for Richmond, Javon Griffin. I've got 2 or 3 sophomores that are going to play on the next level. We got a freshman that's going to surprise a lot of people. I may have a freshman point guard this year that will probably be a D1 player 4 years from now. So
wow,
we're very lucky right now.
Well, keep up the good work, my friend. Great to see you, and definitely we'll have you back on during basketball season, and we'll keep following you and pray really hard that I know it's going to be another great year because you're coaching. I appreciate you coming on tonight, and look forward to having you on again soon.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk about our program a little bit, and go Pirates.
All right. Appreciate Bobby very much. And I don't know what the deal is with the lag tonight, but we'll deal with that. Bubba, very excited to have our very next guest.
Obviously, big matchup on teams looking for a victory this weekend at Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium. And the Pirates looking to bounce back from that heartbreaker at Tulsa that we've already harped on tonight without really intending to. Welcome into the show from the Fear the Wave blog. We've had this guy on before, but it's been a while. JP Gooderham. JP, how are you?
Guys, it's good to be back, and let's just get into it right now. That was absolutely wrong what happened to ECU on Friday night against Tulsa. And as a Tulane fan, that was some real Tulane stuff that we saw happen there. So I really feel for you guys, and we expect this Pirates team to be plenty motivated, hopefully getting some competent refs in place, but you never know in this league.
Yeah, you said that's some Tulane stuff right there. What comes to mind, you guys scoring a touchdown against SMU to go get bowl eligible, and them just not counting the damn touchdown.
That's the one. Yeah. And Tulane, that goes back to 2017. Tulane was 5-6 going into the last game of the season. And, for anyone who remembers that, it really sure looked like Tulane's quarterback crossed the plane, and the ref overruled it. It was overturned, I should say. And Tulane was literally about 2 inches short from making it to Willie Fritz's first bowl that season. But,
I don't think they were. I think it was a touchdown. I wonder if it was the same replay official.
Might have been. I haven't written my newsletter for this week. I need to go in there and try to it'll be like my conspiracy theory of putting in all the crazy AAC calls that have happened. But
well, the
you know,
thing is, when you screw up a review call, that's what bothers me. Because I was saying earlier, you talk about that 2017 game, and in our game with the fumble. If the call's right on the field, and in both those times they were, what's the rule? Unless you see that it's blatantly wrong, you leave it stands as called. What you damn sure don't do is reverse the right decision. And in the East Carolina game on that fumble for Tulsa, they reversed the decision. It was clearly a fumble. The American came out and admitted they were wrong. And going back to your game in 2017, it sure as hell looked like a touchdown to me that Tulane had against SMU, and it was called a touchdown on the field.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You know, you look at that, and just like you said, if you see compelling evidence in the video, you know, I get that. I get why you change the decision, right? But especially I mean, that's the idea of having the refs there, is they're supposed to call what they see on the field. And so I couldn't feel the frustration for you guys. It was a game that I really felt like ECU should have won.
One of the questions I have, and I'll throw to you, JP. I'm sorry, I was just going to ask all three of you guys, and it's a little bit of lag. I apologize, Bubba, but I swear I believe there was a partnership with the ACC was regarding to basically, I hate to use the term, but share a partnership with their officials. If that's the case,
there was in
2018,
like Dave. There was in 2018. I looked that
so
up.
So it's just 2018.
Yeah, I don't think that's still the case. I believe that was 2018 only. The American and the ACC shared officials.
Well, maybe we should go back to that. I don't know, but like I remember back in Conference USA, and we used to like go, oh my God. I remember one time there was two guys. I think they were suspended officials from the Big 12, or there was another conference that, you know, then we got them in Conference USA. I'm like, oh great. So we have rejects from another conference that are Conference USA officials, and I don't know. All I know is that the very fact is we won that football game 2 or 3 times, and yeah, you get a press release, but the fact of the matter is, JP, what this program needs, being East Carolina, is wins. These guys are working their tails off. They bought into Coach Houston. 54 new players. You can start to see the tide turning, the ship turning, if you will, right in the ship. And then when you have stuff like that happen, I know Kyle brought it up, but going to the game against Tulane, we're wondering how this team is going to respond. You know, will it be where they have a chip on their shoulder, where they're motivated, or they're like the heck with it? You know, we won the game last week, and no matter, we won it a few times there at the end of the fourth quarter, and we still come up with a loss. Yeah,
and one other thing I'll mention, Dave, before we move on to Tulane game, really the conference has cost us 2 games in a row, because the Navy game is a different situation, but you know, Holton Ahlers tested positive for COVID, and then he tested twice negative, and it was proven to be a false positive. Well, the conference would not recognize those other tests. They only will recognize the first test. So we didn't have Holton, even though it was a false positive. We would have beaten Navy had we had our quarterback. So really, the conference has cost us 2 games in a row. Now we'll move on to the Tulane game.
Yeah, we don't have a choice but to move on to the game, JP. Let's talk about the season for the Green Wave. Obviously, with Willie Fritz has done a nice job there in New Orleans. I mean, you have the nice stadium now. You don't have to worry about. I actually like the Superdome, but I know for you guys that was a nightmare. And now you have a nice stadium on campus. Speaking of the program going in the right direction, I really believe that with Willie Fritz, he's doing a nice job where they're definitely going to be a bowl team every single year. And who knows, he may be able to keep building it to something even bigger.
Yeah, and Dave, I think that's spot on. And I think if you look at the AAC, what this league has done to a few programs who, if you look at the life of Conference USA, weren't necessarily bringing a whole lot to the table. And don't get me wrong, Tulane had 1998 being a top 10 team in the AP poll. But what I mean is, year in, year out, Tulane in the 2000s was having a lot of challenges with this football program. They were in the Superdome. There were so few fans there, and they blew that air conditioning so hard that you felt like it was 35 degrees. I mean, it was wild, right? And you fast forward to now, and you look at programs like I think Memphis has completely transformed their program since being in the AAC. I think Tulane is, kind of a step behind, and having not contended really for the conference yet. But what Willie Fritz has done successfully is he's built a really pretty rock solid system in place where, the expectation now, he's now won back-to-back bowl games in 2018 and 2019. And, I think they've got an opportunity here if they finish strong to finish with a winning record. And that isn't necessarily something that you hang a banner for, but just the ability to consistently get wins and compete in a tough conference like the AAC. I think for any kind of objective, no pun intended for the show name, but for any objective Tulane fan, that's something that I think we can look at really positively in the development of the program.
No question. As far as the American, one of the things, JP, that I'm really proud of with this conference is the very fact that obviously the top of the league has been good for some time, but to East Carolina has been down obviously for a few years. But you're seeing Mike Houston building that program, Tulane, Willie Fritz building the program, going up. A lot of the teams are middle of the pack, and you look at the bottom tier teams are really, really improving. And that's why our conference is definitely we're not going to get in that subject. We could talk all night, but there's no question in my mind that the American's a power league. We don't like to use that term on the show, but when you look at us with East Carolina, you look at Tulane, you could go through, but all the teams that before you're like, say, and I know in the past, Connecticut's gone, so you don't have Connecticut on your schedule anymore.
That's not an easy win anymore, Dave. That's what you're getting at. You could argue South Florida's struggling this year. But outside of the Bulls, it was us. We were down. And even earlier this year, we weren't very good. But we've improved as the year's gone on. And Tulane, ever since Fritz has been there, has been on the way up. You guys changed your offense last year and got away from a little bit of what Willie was doing with the option game, have more of a traditional spread offense. You still run the ball an awful lot. You had struggles with quarterback earlier this year, went to a freshman. Talk about your offense and your freshman quarterback.
Yeah, and Kyle, I think that's one of the biggest things. If you look at the question mark coming into the season for Tulane was what was going to happen with the offense. They made a lot of progress under first-year offensive coordinator Will Hall last year. And I think the way you characterized it is pretty much spot on. Tulane was kind of known as being a triple option team just based on Fritz coming from Georgia Southern. And I think the big development there was with Will Hall, you brought in a lot of other concepts that are now part of this offense, a lot of spread concepts. Now, the thing that we were lacking, and no disrespect to Justin McMillan, the senior quarterback from last year who got Tulane to a bowl game, was a real competitor, did a lot of things with his feet. Tulane has not, in the Fritz era, ever had a quarterback who's comfortable throwing the ball. It's just a reality, and we've always worked around it. And Tulane has had really strong running backs throughout the Fritz era. And so even though they really had kind of a deficiency at the quarterback position in terms of the ability to throw the football, they found things they could do running. And I think the big development this year, since moving to freshman quarterback Michael Pratt, that's a true freshman out of South Florida. He doesn't really get a chance to play in the spring due to COVID. He's really stepped into those shoes pretty well. And I think Tulane fans are really excited about what Pratt brings to the table. He has a really solid arm. He's generally making good decisions. I think if you look last week at the 38-3 win over Temple and also the 66-point beatdown that Tulane laid on Southern Miss, who isn't a very good team, but Tulane was just for years, we just couldn't score points like that. And I think Tulane is really figuring out things offensively. Defensively has been more of a question this year with some of the challenges Tulane has had with its secondary.
Yeah, you guys are supposed to have a really good defense, and based on the Temple performance, maybe you figured it out. Your D-line got a lot coming back. Some NFL talent on that D-line. You mentioned the secondary being a problem. What did you guys figure out this past week holding Temple to 3 points?
Well, their quarterback, Russo, couldn't play, and that helped, to be honest with you. I think
didn't realize that.
So they were rolling, and I think their second string quarterback might have had COVID too or something. I mean, they were 13 guys short. It was a pretty wild situation. But Kyle, I think there are some positives, and I think what you said is right. Where you look at the defensive line for Tulane, Patrick Johnson, who is the AAC preseason player of the year last year, he is a chaotic, destructive defensive player. Cam Sample is kind of his parallel guy who I think does a lot, can really make an impact, especially creating chaos in the backfield. Now, the teams that have been able to carve up Tulane, what they do effectively is they figure out a way to hit their slants. They figure out a way to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands fairly quickly. And you look at whether it's Clayton Tune at Houston or if you look at Gabriel at UCF, once they can really target the secondary and pick their spots, that's really where those teams are able to move really quickly. And like I said, Tulane's a good offense. I really like those Bill Conley statistics at ESPN. Tulane's a top 40 offense this year so far. But at the same time, Tulane doesn't have the firepower to win a 60-point game, I think, right now with a freshman quarterback. And so I think, one of the biggest things as we look at this game against ECU is, can Tulane kind of find the mojo again what they had last week against Temple and put pressure on the offense and get enough pressure that it's going to do some things, maybe force some turnovers. And I think that's going to be a key storyline for us in this game.
You mentioned your pass defense with that defensive line. How was your rush defense? The difference in East Carolina's offense has been we found a running back. Rajee Harris is the difference maker. And because it gets our passing game going, for our passing game to work, you have to be able to run the ball. So Harris has been the difference maker the last 3 weeks, where suddenly we're able to score on anybody. We've been able to run the ball, and so Holton has looked like the quarterback everybody always knew he could have been. So how is your run defense?
Running the football is important, and it can make quarterbacks look a heck of a lot better. And I think for ECU, I really would circle this as one of the biggest, actually on both sides of the ball. I would circle the rush defense for ECU and the rush defense for Tulane as two really important storylines for who ends up winning this game. Generally, I think Tulane's done a pretty good job when they've been able to have confidence in their ability to protect against the pass, where they're not pulling a ton of pressure out of the box. And the challenge, I think the tape to look at would be UCF, where it felt like the game plan was so conservative in trying to do some things to help the pass defense that ultimately it just gave UCF the ability that if they wanted to, break through for a 8-9 yard chunk run play, those options were there and they had the talent to be able to do it. So, I think for defensive coordinator Jack Curtis, this game is going to be a big one, is a big question. I think you look at ECU. I think ECU is not reflective of their record. I would agree with you guys on that one. I think they have some playmakers who, like you said, I think you found a star running back. I think that's going to make Holton even better. I think that's the big question is, can you really kind of shut down the run? And if so, can that give you some more confidence in what you're going to do on the pass defense side as well?
That's one of the things, JP, that we've seen. That the surprise, I think, of the year for us, the season, outside of the craziness with COVID, that's been a lot of surprises, not in a good way. But when you look at the defense has played a lot better than we expected. We're not saying it's earth like shattering, like world changing defense, but at the same time, they played a lot better, especially like Kyle was talking about with the season moving on. I think that the worst game of the season has been the Georgia State game, without a doubt. That was a 50-50 game. Pirates didn't play. Don't get me wrong. Georgia State has built a great program there, but that's probably been the worst performance. I think even the inside the program, they would admit would be the Georgia State game.
It's interesting hearing you guys and the positivity around Houston, which I think is great. I like the hire when it was made, in terms of his track record and the fit at ECU. But I got to admit, when I saw the Georgia State score, that was definitely the moment where I was kind of like, is this thing working? Right. But I think to your point, the performance against Tulsa, that's a big boy football game, right? They're a real team. They're a team that's trying to win this conference. And at the end of the day, I know there aren't moral victories at this stage, right? But at the same time, I think there's a lot of things to tell us that ECU is a dangerous team. I really think everyone in this league is capable of beating pretty much anyone else, maybe with the exception of Cincinnati. Then on the other side, I think USF and Temple are kind of a wet match in a dark cave right now. But for everyone in between there, especially kind of in spots 5 through 9 in the league, these are teams that can play football. Everyone is recruiting well. Everyone has good coaching staffs. And so I think ECU is going to be a good test on both sides.
Yeah. And, the Georgia State game, I think a couple of things happened. I think, one, we were playing the wrong guys at running back. You don't realize a true freshman is your best running back until you see it. And then we saw it the next weekend, and he ain't been off the field since for too very long. And I think had we discovered that, earlier in the year, you only had one game before Georgia State. If it was a traditional year and we would have played 4 games before Georgia State, we'd have beat the snot out of Georgia State. But it was the second game of the year. We hadn't figured out a running game situation yet. Holton was trying to force things because we couldn't run the ball. And when Holton starts forcing things, that's when you can get Holton. If you force Holton into thinking he's got to put the game on his shoulders, that's when he starts making mistakes.
Yeah, that's very true. What happened is that Holton, being a local kid from Pitt County, D.H. Conley, he was certainly, I hate to use the term, but a man among boys. And he can make, he was kind of like Superman. He can make plays that were garbage. There was no play there. He can make a play. And I think that he's starting to see that, especially this year, that those days of, when you can make plays because you're way better than most of the guys on the field. Well, now that you're at the Division I level, every single one of those guys that are starters are pretty much equals with you for the most part. So I think he's starting to see that he's getting a lot better at making better decisions, like getting rid of the ball faster, certainly throwing the ball away when sometimes I think when he was earlier on in his career, he was trying to, when Kyle was talking about making stuff happen, throw in like coverage when there's even the best quarterbacks would have that's a really difficult completion, a throw to make, and I think he's been doing a better job at that. And then, like you said, JP, the fact that we have a running game now, which we haven't had, that takes a lot of pressure off him where he doesn't try to do more than he needs to do.
JP, do you take this much into account, or is it just nonsense for people that like weird stats? If I remember right, and Bubba, if you're there, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong on this, or JP, maybe I believe Tulane's only won once in Greenville. Beat us several times at the Superdome, but I can only remember one victory for Tulane in Greenville, and that was under Scotty Moe, and even that one went into overtime.
Yeah.
Do you
2017?
Do you make anything out of that, or is that just kind of one of those weird stats that just hadn't happened much because it just hadn't happened much? And through most of those days in Conference USA, we were good and y'all weren't, and things have kind of changed.
There's some of that. We always do in our newsletter. I do kind of a wave of history where we look back, and there's a lot of series like that. Temple was a good example, right? Tulane had never beat Temple in the modern era. The last time they beat Temple was 1935 when Temple and Tulane played in the Sugar Bowl until last Saturday. So it had been a minute. But Kyle, to your point, I think what does Greenville say? What does that road record say about this? And yeah, I think that a lot of those years Tulane and ECU were coming from completely different places. And where they kind of connected, I remember, I think the triple overtime game in the Superdome when Shane Carden was there. There were a couple games like that, and those happened in New Orleans, which was a great game. But I think that to your point, it's a tough place to win. It's a little different right now, I know, just because of the situation of where we are. But I think at the same time, I don't think anyone takes this game lightly. You know what I mean? Tulane has a 3-4 record. I think just like ECU. They're trying to finish this season on a strong note. I expect both these teams to be pretty hungry. And even to the Scotty Moe game, which was an overtime game, ECU was down and out in that game, and that was still an overtime game. So I do think I don't think that is a random stat that it's played out that way. I think it's a tough road environment, and I think it's an important one for Tulane to show up in for sure.
Yeah, JP, it was a very cold night, and the crowd was not good to begin with. And then, like you said, the Pirates were down at least a couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter before we came back and forced overtime. But I talk about the crowd being small. It was really a COVID-19 like crowd because I remember the folks around me. We were playing overtime on my end of the field, and everybody was moving down low. It was about like the crowd we had for Navy.
It was 12,000. For that game at the beginning of the game. I don't know at the end of the game, Bubba, but it was 12. I know that we found out it was 12,000 people that went to that game. There were more people. This is how crazy how bad things got, JP. There were more people watching Holton Ahlers in a North Carolina high school football playoff game at D.H. Conley on a Friday night than the next night. Honest to God, I'm not exaggerating. That's how crazy bad the things have gotten. So that's why when you say about positive, I mean, if we had, the sad thing is, if we didn't have COVID, we would have, don't you guys think we would have 35 or 40,000 at least in the stadium on Saturday if we didn't have COVID? I mean, I know it's hard to know. It's hypothetical.
The reaction right now from our fan base after we've been so bad for so long and knowing we should have beaten Tulsa and should have beaten Navy, and it was to no fault of the football team that we lost those 2 games. The reaction right now on the message boards, you know, I'll give you an example. Somebody gave me tickets, 3,500 people allowed to the game for Navy, or Dave. Somebody gave me tickets to that game, and I had a handful of tickets from someone. You can't get them right now. The 3,500 tickets that are allowed are all being used. Some people are scalping them. So yeah, I would venture to say if it was a normal crowd, yeah, we would be over. We would be between 30 and 40,000 for this one if it was a non-COVID year. People are starting to believe in this football team, and they're ready to see them starting to win. So hopefully that'll happen Saturday. And one of the 4 of us will be disappointed instead of 3 of the 4 of us.
Kyle, I got to add one more. So 2017 was that overtime game that was at your house, right? 2018, the next year, I'm looking it up right now. I remember this because this was Tulane homecoming, and it was cold. It was a bad night, and I think this was Holden's freshman year, and he went 21 for 68 passing attempts, and wow. I just remember that game, and then Tulane's quarterback Justin McMillan went 12 for 28. That game took about 7 hours. It was a 24 to 18.
Attempts, if I remember right, we scored like 17 points. Seemed like you guys went like 24-17.
Good memory, 24-18.
I think out of those 68 pass attempts, about 40 of them were takeoff routes to Trayvon Brown.
It was. I just remember sitting there for like 6 hours. My friends had went to dinner. And I never leave. And I was losing my mind. And it was a 1-score game. It never was more than a 1-score game. I think it was brutal.
Yeah, you're right, Bubba. About the takeoff routes to Trayvon. That was Scotty Moe's offense says, go deep to Trayvon, go deep to Trayvon, go deep to Trayvon. All right.
I had on mute. I was like, yeah, that I was agreeing with you guys that the offense was go to number 88, go to 88, go to 88, yeah. Trayvon Brown. Oh, I mean, that was so obvious. Everybody in the stands knew what play was coming, or at least we knew what player, if it was a pass, who was going to or attempting to, for sure. It's going to be a lot of fun. High noon on Saturday. JP, as far as I guess families, how many people do you think will come from New Orleans to Greenville as far as Green Wave fans?
Man, that's a good question. It's been interesting because there's been a Southern Miss was obviously a much closer game in Hattiesburg, and Tulane had a nice contingent for that one. Houston was the same way. You have a lot of Tulane alums who end up moving to Houston. I haven't seen just
both those schools are allowing more fans too. Good, Southern Miss and Houston.
What are you guys doing? I haven't looked it up. What are you guys doing?
3,500 people, 7%.
What are the and man? Yeah, I don't. Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't expect to see a whole lot of green, but I guess
I think you guys are allowed. I believe what they're doing, JP, is allowing around 200 or something like that tickets to the away team. So maybe some parents.
Yeah, that's they were doing. So New Orleans, for anyone who's an NFL fan, you've obviously seen the Superdome has been empty for most of the Saints season, and Tulane just got to have basically some students come, but until then they were doing about 200 to 300, and it was parents and families. So I think that's probably going to be right, Kyle.
It's going to be fun. As far as your newsletter and all that, how can people find out your work, man? We appreciate you coming on again. I think it was back in for basketball season. It's been a while since we've had you on. I'd love to have you back on again soon. It was been way too long.
We got to talk baseball. It's going to be really interesting if you see today they're thinking about doing an AAC only season, home and home for both teams. I think that could be really interesting. But guys, really appreciate you having me on. Always enjoyed talking to you. And For anyone who wants to just kind of add some more reading material into their AAC arsenal, we're Fear the Wave blog on Twitter. You can find our newsletter at fearthewave.substack.com. And thank you very much for having me, guys.
Absolutely, JP. Appreciate it, man. And go ahead,
No,
Bubba.
JP, I appreciate you chiming in with that baseball news. I had not seen that. That's interesting. We're getting ready to play our Purple Gold World Series, and we can't have any fans at that. And I'd also heard some news that it's looking like there will be potentially no fans at basketball games. We'll see about that.
Baseball was, among the many things that we lost out on 2020. I was really disappointed because Tulane had a club again I think they were up to number 17 when it shut down. And, Tulane, even through the bad football years and stuff, has generally had a pretty fun baseball history. So I'm really hoping we have a good AAC baseball season because, there's some really good teams left. I think that's the one sport where I'm going to kind of miss UConn because I think they did a nice job, but a lot of good clubs left in this league. So looking forward to it.
It's going to be a lot of fun, no doubt. JP, thanks, man. Appreciate it very much. And we'll have you again on real soon. It won't be this long, a long drought for sure. Have a good one, buddy. All right, there. Fear the Wave blog. And wow, it's election night special. It's been a lot of fun, guys. Do you have anything before we go? I know we've got some great programming. Obviously, a lot of press conferences this week. We got the big game on Saturday. We'll have our Pirate preview coming up. A lot of great material coming up this week. Content.
Yeah, today we had Mike Houston's weekly press conference, so check that out on YouTube and on here, right, Facebook as well. And then in addition to that, tomorrow we'll have our coordinator report here, Johnny Kirkpatrick and Blake Harrell, Pirates defense coordinator. Last week that first half that we played, and that was one of the best halves of defense against a quality opponent that we've played in an awfully long time. With the game on the line. And then other than that, we have Jay Sonhalter on the show very frequently, and he will be joining us on Thursday night for our Pirate preview because he's on the call this week. I'm not sure who will be doing the play-by-play, but Jay's going to be the color analyst on the ESPN Plus broadcast. So look forward to that. We'll have a recorded interview with Andrew Allegretta. Andrew normally joins us live, but he had something that he couldn't get out of on Thursday night during the 8 o'clock hour. So we'll record that on Wednesday afternoon and have that for you on the first part of the 8 o'clock hour on Thursday night. And then we'll also have first thing Thursday morning, the Inside Slant. All recorded interviews this week, but it should be a tremendous episode. We'll have Garrett McClintock of BYU 24/7 as we'll talk about BYU's trip to the Blue Turf on Friday night to take on 21st ranked Boise State. Liberty's in the poll for the first time in its program's history. So we'll catch up with John Laser, the Virginia Tech play-by-play voice, as well as Liberty beat writer Damian Sordelette to talk about those teams doing battle in Blacksburg on Saturday. Will Vandervoort of the Clemson Insider, talk about the Tigers and Notre Dame. Primetime game on Saturday, 7:30 on NBC. And then also Palmer Toms of Dogs 24/7 to talk about Georgia and Florida, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party taking place this weekend in Jacksonville.
All right. It's going to be a lot of busy week, but that's what you expect this time of year with football. And then it won't be long, a few weeks away from the end of after Thanksgiving, we'll have basketball, guys. So a lot of stuff to do between now and then. And hopefully people went out and voted. And we'll find out who the next governor, president, maybe by the year 21 or 22, we'll find out who the next president is. We'll see.
Yep. Go Pirates.
Yep. All right, guys. Enjoyed it. Thanks to our guests. Thanks to Bubba and Kyle. You've been watching and listening to the Sports Objective, the unofficial podcast of the Pirates. Good night, everybody. Go Pirates.